Dad perfect events. My wife looked me straight in the eyes and said, "We heard you bought a penthouse. I'll move in and make peace." She said it like it was already decided, like my home belonged to her, like I should be grateful for the privilege of being used again. Beverly stood there with that fake smile plastered on her face, acting like the past 8 months of arguments and manipulation were just water under the bridge. But as she stepped inside my penthouse, her smile cracked and vanished entirely. She froze, not because of the view, not because of the luxury, but because of something far more unsettling, something that told her immediately that everything she thought she controlled was about to slip away. My name is Harold Pierce. I'm 70 years old, a retired civil engineer who spent 40 years building bridges across the Northeast. I lost my wife Dorothy 2 years ago to cancer, and 10 months later, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I married Beverly Martinez. Let me back up a bit. After Dorothy died, I was a complete mess. 43 years of marriage doesn't just end because one person stops breathing. I was rattling around in our old house, talking to her picture every morning, keeping her coffee mug on the counter like she might come back for it. My son Vernon kept telling me I needed to get out more, maybe join a grief support group. That's where I met Beverly. She was 48, said she'd lost her husband 3 years earlier in a car accident. She was beautiful, well-dressed, and seemed to understand exactly what I was going through. She'd sit next to me at those meetings, touch my arm when I talked about Dorothy, tell me how much she missed her late husband too. Her eyes would fill with tears at all the right moments. Looking back now, I should have known something was off when she started pushing marriage after only 4 months of dating. "Harold, we're not getting any younger," she'd say, stroking my hand. "Why waste time when we both know we're meant to be together? Life is so short, and we've both lost so much time already." She had this way of making everything sound urgent, like happiness was slipping away while we hesitated. Vernon hated her from day one. He'd pull me aside after she left and say things like, "Dad, something doesn't feel right about her. She's pushing too hard, too fast." But I thought he was just being protective, maybe even jealous that I was moving on without his mother. I was lonely, flattered that a woman like Beverly would want an old guy like me. At 70, you don't expect beautiful women to show much interest. We got married in a simple ceremony at the courthouse. Nothing fancy, just the judge, Beverly, me, and a witness she brought along, some woman named Lisa, who claimed to be her sister, but who I never saw again after that day. Vernon refused to come. He said he wasn't ready to see me married to someone else. I was hurt by his absence, but I understood. I should have listened to him. The problem started almost immediately, after the honeymoon. Beverly moved into my house and began changing everything. Dorothy's pictures went into storage because they made the house feel too much like a shrine. Her orchids, the ones I'd been carefully tending for 2 years, like they were pieces of her soul, got accidentally overwatered and died. Beverly said she was sorry, but she'd never been good with plants. The little ceramic figurines Dorothy collected disappeared one by one. When I asked about them, Beverly would look confused and suggest maybe I'd misplaced them. But the real shock came when Beverly found out about the penthouse. See, Dorothy had always dreamed of living high above the city, somewhere with light and a view that made you feel like you were floating above the world. When we were young and poor, living in that tiny apartment on the Lower East Side, she'd point to the tall buildings and say, "Someday, Harold, someday we'll live up there with all that light." We never got that apartment while she was alive. Life happened, kids happened, responsibilities took over. But before she died, weakened by chemotherapy, but still fierce in her hospital bed, she made me promise to buy that penthouse anyway, to live her dream even if she couldn't share it. So, 3 months after the funeral, I bought it, a $2.5 million apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view that stretched from the Hudson River to the East River. I'd been living there quietly for about 18 months, going back and forth between the penthouse and my old house, unable to let go of either completely. It was my private sanctuary filled with a few of Dorothy's things and the peace I needed to grieve properly. I'd been living there about 6 months when Beverly somehow discovered it. I still don't know exactly how. Maybe she'd been going through my mail, my bank statements, checking up on me in ways I hadn't noticed. But one day she confronted me about it, her eyes blazing with an anger I'd never seen before. "You bought a penthouse? A $2.5 million penthouse?" she screamed, waving what looked like a bank statement in my face. "And you didn't tell your wife? What else are you hiding from me, Harold? I tried to explain about Dorothy's dream, about the promise I'd made to her in that sterile hospital room, but Beverly wasn't having any of it. Your first wife is dead, Harold. I'm your wife now. That penthouse should be ours, not some monument to a ghost. The way she said it, a ghost, cut deep. Dorothy wasn't a ghost to me. She was still the woman I loved, still present in every morning coffee ritual, every evening when I'd tell her about my day. But Beverly wanted to erase all of that, to make me into someone who could forget 43 years of marriage like it had never happened. That's when she made her demand. She wanted us to sell my old house and move into the penthouse together. When I refused, things got ugly fast. Beverly started threatening to leave me, then switched tactics and began crying, saying I didn't love her as much as I loved a dead woman. The emotional whiplash was exhausting. One minute she was screaming, the next she was sobbing into my shoulder about how lonely and unwanted she felt. The manipulation got worse over the following weeks. She'd bring up my age constantly. At 70, you shouldn't be living alone in a place that big. Or, what if you have a medical emergency and no one's there to help you? She started hinting that maybe I was getting confused, forgetting things, not thinking clearly. Harold, honey, you seem to be misplacing a lot of things lately. Maybe we should have Dr. Peterson take a look at you. That's when I knew I was in real trouble. See, I'd heard those exact same words before, in business deals gone bad, in contract disputes where someone was trying to push through terms that didn't make sense. Someone was trying to make me doubt my own judgment, and that's always the first step toward taking everything you have. I decided to do some digging on my own. It wasn't hard. I still had connections from my engineering days, people who knew people, ways to check backgrounds that most folks don't think about. What I found made my blood run cold. Beverly Martinez had been married before, to a man named Eugene Richardson in Ohio. Eugene was 68 when he died, just 3 years after marrying Beverly. The death certificate said heart failure, which sounds natural enough, but Eugene's family had filed a civil lawsuit against Beverly within weeks of the funeral. They claimed elder financial abuse, systematic theft, manipulation of a vulnerable widower. The case was settled out of court for $200,000, with all records sealed and everyone bound by non-disclosure agreements. But sealed doesn't mean gone, not if you know where to look and who to ask. Eugene's nephew had hired a private investigator who documented everything before the settlement: the forged signatures, the drained bank accounts, the sudden changes to Eugene's will while he was showing signs of what his doctor later said might have been medication-induced confusion. Beverly was a professional. This wasn't some crime of passion or a desperate woman making bad choices. She targeted wealthy widowers through grief support groups, married them quickly while they were vulnerable and not thinking clearly, then systematically stripped their assets. Eugene Richardson wasn't her first victim, and I wasn't supposed to be her last. The pieces started falling into place like a puzzle I'd been trying to solve for months. How she'd known exactly what to say at those grief support meetings, like she'd rehearsed it all before. How she'd pushed for marriage so quickly, using my loneliness against me. How she'd immediately started isolating me from Vernon and my granddaughter Carol, creating drama every time they wanted to visit. Even how she'd found out about the penthouse. She'd probably been going through my financial documents for months, cataloging everything I owned. But there was something else I discovered while investigating Beverly, something that changed everything and made me understand that I'd been protected in ways I never realized. While I was digging into Beverly's background, I found out that Dorothy had been investigating too. My wife, my real wife, had hired a private investigator 6 months before she died. She'd suspected something about the kind of women who might target grieving widowers, and she'd wanted to protect me from exactly this situation. The investigator, a guy named Tony Morrison, had compiled a thick file on predatory individuals who worked the grief support circuit, including several photos of Beverly Martinez at different meetings across 3 different states. Dorothy had known. Even while fighting cancer, even while her body was failing, and every day was a struggle just to stay conscious, she'd seen the danger coming and tried to build walls around me. She'd left detailed instructions with my attorney Gerald Brooks, along with a sealed envelope that was only supposed to be opened if I remarried within 2 years of her death. I called Gerald immediately. He'd been our family lawyer for 15 years, handled our wills and business contracts, knew us better than most of our friends. When I told him about Beverly and what I'd discovered, There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. "Harold," he said finally, his voice heavy with something that sounded like sadness, mixed with relief. "I've been waiting for this call. Dorothy left specific instructions about what to do if you remarried too quickly." She was very concerned about exactly this scenario. I drove to Gerald's office that afternoon, with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. The envelope Dorothy had left was cream-colored, sealed with red wax, my name written across the front, in the handwriting I knew better than my own. Inside was a video recording Dorothy had made during her final weeks, along with legal documents I didn't even know existed. On the video, Dorothy looked directly into the camera, her face thin, but her eyes sharp and determined. "Harold," she said, and hearing her voice again after 2 years of silence hit me like a physical blow. "If you're watching this, you've fallen into a trap I tried to prevent. The woman you married is not who she claims to be. But don't worry, my love. Everything you need to protect yourself is right here. I won't let anyone hurt you, even from beyond the grave." The legal documents Dorothy had left were extraordinary. She'd placed the Penthouse in an irrevocable trust with Carol as the sole beneficiary, managed by both me and Dorothy's sister, Patricia Walker. Any major decisions about the property required both trustees to agree. Beverly had no claim to the Penthouse at all. It legally belonged to my 9-year-old granddaughter, with me as the caretaker until she turned 18. But that wasn't all. Dorothy had also hidden $6 million in various investments and accounts that Beverly didn't know existed. She'd built this wealth quietly over decades, adding small amounts here and there, reinvesting dividends, buying municipal bonds during high-interest periods. She'd structured everything so that no second wife could ever touch it. Every scheme Beverly had planned, every forged document she might create, every manipulation she could devise, all of it was aimed at assets that were already beyond her reach. Gerald walked me through each document, explaining how Dorothy had anticipated different scenarios. "She thought of everything, Harold. Even if Beverly somehow got power of attorney over you, even if she convinced a court you were incompetent, she couldn't touch the trust. Patricia has equal authority, and Patricia knows exactly who Beverly is." I hadn't spoken to Patricia in months, not since the awkward phone call where I'd told her about my remarriage. Dorothy's sister had been polite but cool, saying she hoped I'd be happy, but that she thought I was moving too fast. Now I understood why. "Patricia's been watching Beverly this whole time," Gerald continued. "Dorothy asked her to keep an eye on you, to be ready to step in if something like this happened. She's documented everything. The isolation tactics, the financial probing, even Beverly's attempts to turn Carol against you. That hit me hard. Carol was my granddaughter, Vernon's daughter, the brightest spot in my life since Dorothy died. Beverly had been subtly poisoning that relationship for months, making comments about how I was getting too old to be trusted with a young child, how I might forget to feed her or let her wander off. She'd even suggested that Carol should start calling her Grandma Beverly since she was my wife now. Armed with all this information, I was ready when Beverly made her final play. She'd been escalating the pressure for weeks, alternating between tears and threats, between claims that she was worried about my health and demands for immediate access to all my accounts. The Penthouse had become her obsession. She'd drive by it, she'd look up property values online, she'd make comments about how much space we were wasting by maintaining 2 separate homes. She came to the Penthouse that afternoon, dressed like she was going to a business meeting, her expression hard and determined. I'd called Patricia and Gerald beforehand, asked them to be nearby but not visible. I needed witnesses for what was coming, but I also needed Beverly to feel confident enough to show her true colors. "Harold, I've been patient long enough," she said, as soon as I let her in. "I want the spare keys to this place, and I want them now. We're married, and I have a right to live in properties my husband owns. This separation between your old life and your new life has gone on long enough." I looked at her standing there in Dorothy's dream home, demanding keys to a place she had no legal right to enter, and I felt something cold and calm settle in my chest. "Beverly," I said quietly, "we need to talk. Sit down." She remained standing, her arms crossed, her posture aggressive. "I don't need to sit down. I need those keys, and I need you to stop treating me like I'm some kind of stranger. I'm your wife." "No," I said. "You need to hear what I know about Eugene Richardson." The change in her face was immediate and complete. Color drained from her cheeks like water running out of a sink. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed again. For the first time since I'd known her, Beverly looked genuinely afraid. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, but her voice had lost all its authority. She sounded like a child caught stealing cookies. I walked to my desk and pulled out the thick file my investigator had compiled. Photos of Beverly with Eugene, court documents from the lawsuit his family had filed, bank records showing the systematic theft of his assets over the 3 years they were married. I spread it all across my dining room table. Like cards in a poker game, I was finally ready to win. Eugene Richardson, 68 years old, died of what the certificate calls heart failure 3 years after marrying you. His family sued you for elder financial abuse. You settled for $200,000 to make the whole thing go away. I kept my voice calm, factual, like I was explaining a construction project to a client. Before Eugene, there was William Murphy in Florida. 72 years old, lost $1.8 million to you before his nephew got suspicious and hired lawyers. Before William, there was Charles Davidson in Pennsylvania. Beverly stared at the document spread across the table, her mask finally slipping completely. When she looked up at me, her eyes held something I'd never seen before. Pure, calculating hatred mixed with the desperation of a cornered animal. "You think you're so smart," she said, her voice turning ugly and raw. "You think you're the first stubborn old fool who thought he could outsmart me? They all think they're clever, Harold. They all think they see through me, and you know what? They all end up the same way, broke, alone, and forgotten. That's what happens to men like you." The admission hung in the air between us like smoke. She wasn't even pretending anymore. She was showing me exactly who she was, confident that I was too old, too weak, too isolated to do anything about it. She was wrong. "There's more, Beverly." I reached for Dorothy's laptop, which I'd set up on the side table earlier. My wife left me a message. I pressed play, and Dorothy's face filled the screen. Even weakened by cancer treatments, even speaking from what we both knew was her deathbed, her voice was strong and clear. "Harold, if you're watching this, the woman you married is named Beverly Martinez. She has systematically stolen from at least 3 elderly men, and she may have hastened their deaths through medication manipulation and deliberate isolation from family members. She targeted you specifically because of your assets and your vulnerability after my death." Beverly watched the video with growing horror, her hands trembling at her sides. When Dorothy explained about the trust, about the hidden assets, about the legal protections that made Beverly's schemes worthless, Beverly's face went completely white. "The penthouse belongs to Carol," Dorothy continued on the recording. "It's been in trust since 6 months before my death. The business assets, the retirement accounts, the municipal bonds and stock portfolios I accumulated over 40 years. None of it is accessible to anyone except Harold and our granddaughter. I've outplayed you from beyond the grave, whoever you are." When the video ended, I closed the laptop and looked at Beverly. She was staring at the blank screen like she couldn't quite process what she'd just heard. "The penthouse belongs to Carol," I said quietly. "It's been in trust since before you ever met me. The $6 million in hidden assets, the investment, portfolios, even the business I built over 40 years. Dorothy structured it all so that no second wife could ever touch it. You've spent 8 months scheming for assets that were never within your reach." That's when Beverly completely lost control. She lunged for the laptop, trying to destroy the evidence, screaming about how I couldn't do this to her, how she was my legal wife and had rights. I caught her wrist before she could grab the computer, and up close I could see the wildness in her eyes, the absolute panic of someone watching their life's work collapse. "Let go of me!" she shrieked, twisting against my grip. "I'll destroy you for this. I'll tell everyone you're senile, that you've been abusing me, that you're not fit to live alone. No one will believe a confused old man over his concerned wife." Before I could respond, the front door opened. Vernon walked in, carrying a briefcase and followed by Patricia Walker and Gerald Brooks. I'd called them after watching Dorothy's video, knowing I'd need witnesses for what was coming, knowing that everything had to be documented properly. "Dad, are you okay?" Vernon moved to my side immediately, his eyes taking in Beverly's disheveled appearance and the scattered documents on the table. Gerald stepped forward with a manila folder full of official-looking papers. "Mrs. Martinez, I'm serving you with annulment proceedings. Your marriage to Mr. Pierce was obtained under fraudulent pretenses. You have 30 days to vacate any properties you're currently occupying. Beverly looked from Gerald to Vernon to Patricia, finally understanding that she was surrounded, outmaneuvered, completely finished. The predator who had stalked me through grief support groups now faced a coordinated defense she'd never anticipated. "This isn't over," she snarled, backing toward the door like a cornered animal. "You have no idea what I'm capable of. I'll fight this. I'll take everything." Patricia stepped forward, her voice steady and calm. "Actually, Beverly, we know exactly what you're capable of. We've contacted the district attorneys in Ohio, Florida, and Pennsylvania. They're very interested in your pattern of behavior across multiple states. Elder financial abuse becomes a federal crime when it crosses state lines." That was the last time I saw Beverly as a free woman. She was arrested 2 days later on charges of bigamy. Turns out she was still legally married to William Murphy in Florida, along with elder financial abuse, mail fraud, and conspiracy charges. The authorities found evidence connecting her to 5 different victims across 4 states, with total documented theft exceeding $3 million. The legal proceedings took 8 months, but the outcome was never in doubt. Beverly was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. Her conviction opened the floodgates for other victims to come forward, and several families recovered assets they thought were gone forever. As for me, I learned to live with the shame of being foolish enough to be taken in by a professional predator. But I also learned something more important, that love really can transcend death when someone cares enough to build protections that last beyond their own life. Vernon and I rebuilt our relationship slowly but surely. He moved back to town, started visiting regularly, bringing Carol with him on weekends. We'd sit in the penthouse Dorothy had dreamed of, playing board games and talking about everything except the woman who'd tried to destroy our family. Carol is 9 now, bright and curious and completely unaware that she's the beneficiary of an $8.5 million trust fund. She loves hearing stories about the grandmothers she barely remembers. And sometimes when she laughs at my terrible jokes, I swear I can hear Dorothy's voice in the sound. I still talk to Dorothy's picture every morning, still tend to the orchids I planted to replace the ones Beverly killed. But now the conversations are different. Instead of just grief, there's gratitude. Gratitude for a woman who loved me enough to fight battles I couldn't see, who built walls around everything that mattered, while I wasn't even aware there was a war being fought. Beverly thought she was hunting a lonely old man with more money than sense, but what she actually found was a family that refused to be broken, a love that refused to die, and protections built by someone who understood that the greatest gift you can give someone is the security they don't even know they have. Every morning, I look out at the city waking up below and remember Dorothy's final words from that video. "Live your peace now, Harold. You've earned it." Some stories of betrayal end in bitterness, but this one ends in gratitude for the woman who saved me, for the son who forgave me, and for the granddaughter who will inherit not just money, but the knowledge that she comes from people who protect each other, even beyond death.